Hello, you can see what model will be the topic of today's review, and that's another review that I'd like to release earlier, but unfortunately delivery took some additional time. But anyway, it's better late than never, or at least that's what I say to myself, trying to excuse myself. So today I will talk about Noble Audio TUX 5. TUX, it's shorthand for tuxedo. I don't know why they choose this name, but actually they made some references for the design. If you follow my reviews for some time, you probably know that my most favorite and my most beloved pair of in-ear monitors are Noble Audio Han. I really like their top-of-the-line hybrid, but of course its price is $2,400, and that's too high. So when they've announced TUX 5, they said that it will be Baby Han. And of course it would be interesting because it's a 5-driver hybrid model, but now it's more traditional. While Han utilizes single dynamic driver, 4 balanced armature and piezo super tweeter, this one is just 5 drivers, 10mm dynamic driver and 4 balanced armatures, 2 for mid-highs and 2 for upper highs, so basically treble and upper treble. And price is noticeably lower, it's $1,300. Of course it's still pretty expensive, but it's almost 2 times more affordable than Han. So did they manage to release Baby Han or not? Let's find out. Box is fairly simple and it corresponds to that proclaimed tuxedo design. It's just black and white with signature pattern on the main box, and they show the traditional Noble way of declaring technical specifications. So 5 drivers, 1 10mm driver and 4 balanced armature. Information that it was tuned by Wizard, and as usual, instead of full technical specifications, we can see that impedance is less than 35 ohms, so I think it's safe to assume that it's 34 ohms or from 30 to 34. But of course multi-balanced armatures have a variable impedance curve, so impedance depends on the frequency. Hand assembled and matched, and sensitive enough for use with most smartphones. So okay, I think it's enough of information that we need to know. Nice stylish box that Noble use in their most recent models. And inside you will have Pelican case with in-ear monitors and additional sets. Also Wizard's crown sticker is also in stock. So you will have pair of rubber bands. It would come in handy if you decide to stack some DAC or amplifier with your source. Really big set of tips, actually consisting mainly of foams. So 3 pair of silicons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pair of foams, 3 pair of black ones and 3 pair of pale gray ones, and a cleaning brush. Inside of this Pelican case you will find carbine to attach this case somewhere, warranty card, and a pouch with in-ear monitors themselves. So, and of course a stock cable. So as you can see, accessory set is pretty big, but that's what you can expect in this price range, not less. In terms of design, they remind Hans a little bit, but actually there is a noticeable difference. Both are made of plastic, but they have bit different shells. So probably they retuned the shape of the shells, retuned this bore and spout, and of course Han have their signature wavy pattern, while this one is pure solid black. Of course it's really ergonomic shape, really utilitarian shape, so they will definitely serve you for a long time. They are made of good quality plastic, but of course I think everyone would like to see some more fancy design. But anyway, it's simple and minimalistic, and probably that they tried to show that they focused on the sound, not on the design. And most probably they will be available in custom versions and in some Wizard signature designs. I think it's what we can really expect in nearest future. They are really comfortable, so everything is smooth, no sharp edges, they are fitting into almost any ears. They are actually not really big, so I don't think that someone will have issues with fit, but of course I can't be 100% certain here. They have well extended spouts with proper angle, and that means normal sound isolation. It could be better, but there is a pretty big vent hole here. Anyway, with foam tips sound isolation is above average, but with silicone tips it's slightly below average. But anyway, it will be enough for noisy street. So cable is made replaceable. Here used 2-pin connector, and they've decided to make a bit unusual but really stylish cable for them. It's actually thicker than stock cable of Han. As you can see, it's 4 wires per ear, while Han has only 2. It has ear hooks formed, but no memory wire inside, and it has 2 colors, so basically black and white for one ear and for another. Nice braiding, it's oxygen cryo copper, it's pretty soft, has almost zero microphonics. Splitter and chin slider are done really nicely, they look really solid, and after the splitter it goes braided, nice looking braiding, goes down to pretty big straight jack, so it's even a bit bigger than Han's one. So anyway, nice reliable cable, simple but good and practical designs, and of course I'm pretty sure that they will serve for a long time and they will be really durable. And of course about the sound, they don't require some extended burn-in, maybe just few hours will be enough and sound settled. I've tried to burn them in for 30 hours, but no big changes after about 3 or 4 hours that I can hear anyway. So of course they require a proper tip selection. The best result I've got with spiral dot tips, but stock tips are also pretty okay, but spiral dots just give me a bit better sound. But of course I will describe the sound with stock tips. So in terms of signatures and general performance, there is a good news and a bad news. Bad news, it's not a Han, and actually honestly I won't call them even baby Hans. Of course there are a lot of similar things, but tuning is noticeably different. But the good news, it's really solid and nice in-ear monitors with their strong parts, and probably it's like a step-brother or something like that. So in general this model is noticeably V-shaped, and I can probably call them bass head because they have a decent amount of low frequencies and pretty noticeable accent on lows. And what is probably the best part here is that this accent goes down to the deepest layers of bass, so they have really deep bass, and No, accent is not typical mid-bass accent, but also a deep bass accent, so they are solid, they are firm, they have good punch, and they build a really exciting solid foundation. Of course, they suiting more for the synthesized low frequencies, but with acoustic instruments and with real instruments they sounding also pretty okay, but they highlighting them, adding a bit more body. Of course, resolution is really good, even despite using dynamic driver. Of course, it's not balanced armatures, but still really good resolution. And also what is good is their lows are really well controlled, they are not bleeding onto mids, even if we took the mids roll off into account. So basically it's really good implementation of bass heavy in ear monitors, so the bass is not shadowing other frequencies. Maybe on the most bassy tracks it will do that, but it's unavoidable. But anyway, it's still really well controlled. And as an example, I've got one of the best examples of the synthesized low frequencies. It's Massive Attack, and actually every single track could be an example, but Angel, it's just randomly picked track from this album, and it starts with rumbling low frequencies, and this in-ear monitor sounding astonishing with this track, because they will dip you into this atmosphere of lows, and at the same time they will play mids in a really impressive way, building a contrast with low frequencies. So mids are rolled off, actually mostly upper mids, but thanks to the resolution you won't lag the mids, so it's just the best way of implementing V-shape signature. And they are resolving, they have really good attacks, decays, sense of realism, and actually they are staying really well balanced, not leaning towards micro detalization. They're not trying to nitpick every single detail and highlight it, and at the same time they're not trying to make some slow signature to make mids warmer. They're not trying to highlight some emotions, they're just fairly natural. So good body, maybe not absolutely perfect, especially comparing with Han, for example, but pretty decent body for both on vocals and on the instruments. So you will have the well, how to name it, probably more or less audiophilic representation, but not trying to overwhelm you with amount of details. But of course all details are present, they're not moved forward. Imaginary stage is good, noticeably above average in width and in depth. Maybe not the most huge one, but still really enjoyable and really spacious. And as an example, I've got yet another track. It's actually excerpt, but it's a good excerpt, and from a really impressive test track. It's Ray Charles and Natalie Cole, and its famous track Fever. You heard this track or one of its covers, and of course you've heard this track is recorded in a really impressive way, as it's a part of sample disc. So you will have great vocals and good instruments part. Everything is really spacious, with good sense of realism, with good sense of the chamber where it was recorded, and this in ear monitors represented really nicely. Treble is accented here. It's almost unavoidable solution, because treble needs to balance the low frequency. So if you're making a low accent, it almost automatically means that you need to make a treble accent, otherwise bass will dominate over the treble and it will shadow it and earphones will sound muffled. It's not happening with this in-ear monitors, and treble here is accented, but it's not sharp, not too fatiguing, at least to my taste. I need to say it almost in every single review, because of course it depends on your level of sensitivity to the treble. If you are sensitive, it's better to listen them before buying, but I think it's anyway more or less safe choice, because treble is really well controlled, extension is not the best one, but above the average noticeably, and attacks and decays are realistic, as well as things like body, layering, so I'm not even telling about the resolution of the treble and realism, it's all here. So in the top of the line in-ear monitors, almost all of them have perfect treble, and the matter is like in the amount, in the layering and saturation and so on. So layering here is normal, as well as overtone saturation, a bit highlighted treble to make them a bit more efficient and balance the low frequencies. And as an example, it's Transatlantic, one of the greatest supergroups in the history of progressive metal. And on the Prowl I could select other tracks, but this one is saturated with percussion, fast guitars, so a lot of things that go high into the treble area, and these in-ear monitors manage to deal with this track in a really nice and impressive way. So basically, to summarize, it's a V-shaped signature with nice big body, low frequencies, but good resolution and good overall control, and with the accent on the treble too. In terms of pairing, they require a decent source, something from the mid segment or higher, of course. Noble road that you can use them with smartphone, and actually, it's pretty okay pairing, but it just makes no sense. It's like to buy the sport car and drive it into the traffic jams without ability to achieve the maximum speed. So if you're buying expensive in-ear monitors, you need at least mid-tier source or even something better. So basically I'd recommend something like Ibasso DX 220, K9 5.2 or FIO M11 Pro, something from this segment. Hope actually I will test them with FIO M15 soon. Comparisons will be really short this time, as I simply don't have many models in this price range to compare. Of course, Han is more linear, more natural, more resolving, especially it's better in the treble area, because this piezo tweeter here do things better. It has more weight on the mid frequency, so basically it's sounding better and more natural, but of course its price is 2 times higher. And if you like accented low frequencies, maybe TUX 5 could be a better option for you. The closest and actually main rival for this model will be Campfire Audio Solaris. Also a hybrid model, if I remember right. It's also using 4 balanced armatures, and they have limited editions that I hope to test soon. But anyway, they are somewhat close in terms of signature, because Solaris has more body and so on, but actually there is a slight difference. Solaris is more focused on the micro detalization, and it's a bit more highlighting the details. So if you need more analytical sound, if it could be applied actually to Solaris, it's like analytical representation with big bass and with highlighted treble. So it's hard to name that analytical, but actually it's more analytical and more focused on the micro detalization, while this one is a bit less doing that, and this one has a bit more bass and a bit more focusing on the low frequencies, so it's kind of more fun signature, a bit more fun. And yet another model from the Noble Audio worth mentioning, it's of course Kaiser & Core. Kaiser & Core is a bit faster on the lows, but it has less low frequencies, but it's also accented, but it has less low frequencies, but it's also expected, because Kaiser & Core it's pure balanced armatures, while here you will have the dynamic driver. Actually, I wonder, do they share the same dynamic driver or not? because the speed is pretty the same, but tuning is totally different, so I can't say for sure. Anyway, so Kaiser and Core is a bit more linear and a bit more, I need to say once again, bit more analytical, but they are not analytical, but just a bit less fun colored than this one. What other models? Actually don't know any other model. Andromeda is noticeably more natural, and so it's not fair to even compare them because it's totally different representation. So Noble Audio created unusual model. Maybe it's not everyone's cup of tea, but of course some people will definitely like this signature, and if you like accented lows but at the same time you don't want to lose resolution and clarity, it's a model worth mentioning. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.